Now, I know a lot of you guys feel the same way that I do about SummerSlam. It doesn't feel like SummerSlam for one reason or another. Listen, I know there's no fans. I know WWE's been operating the way they have been operating out of the Performance Center. It doesn't feel like WWE. But SummerSlam has not felt like SummerSlam in many, many, many years. I can't even remember the last time I actually sat down and enjoyed a SummerSlam. I'll never forget. I always tell the story every single year. Growing up, me and my brothers loved watching SummerSlam. We eagerly awaited SummerSlam. So much so that my dad made fun of us about it, which is where I got the coined phrase Summer Scam. Made its way to a t-shirt. It's been a yearly thing on the podcast. JD, off the script. Oh, it's time for Summer Scam. It's exactly what it is. I feel scammed every single year, every time I see SummerSlam. But I'm not here to talk about how SummerSlam doesn't feel the same. I think that is a very common thing nowadays. You guys feel it, I feel it. SummerSlam is going to be a newsworthy show. It's going to be a very newsworthy show. You'll never see it coming. I hope so. I hope that we get a good show because that's where I get that phrase. That's where I think they are going with it all. You'll never see it coming. Is it going to be a great show? You'll never see it coming. Is it going to resemble SummerSlam of old? You'll never see it coming. WWE has added these taglines to everything they've done throughout this pandemic era. Every single show. WrestleMania, too big for just one night. Which was great. 3.5 hours of WrestleMania on a Saturday and Sunday. Sign me up, motherfucker. Seriously. Then you had Extreme Rules, the horror show. The horror show at Extreme Rules. Payback, or whatever the fuck it was. Backlash. The greatest wrestling match ever. SummerSlam, you'll never see it coming. Payback, what's going to be the tagline for Payback? Retribution, Payback. It's like they're harping back to the old In Your House days. Every In Your House came with a tagline. Revenge of the Taker. And Bad Blood or Canadian Stampede. Whatever the fuck they named. Mind Games is one that comes to mind, being that's one of my favorite In Your Houses of all time. You know? Everything has a tagline nowadays in this pandemic era. But you'll never see it coming. It is one of those things that I do feel like is going to be a factor in a lot of these matches on Sunday night. Just looking up and down the card on SummerSlam Sunday, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches. I could easily book another 3 or 4 matches to fit on this show, but WWE has another pay-per-view a week from now. So they're saving all of that for then. But every one of these matches, I could see the tagline kind of fitting in. I could see that you'll never see it coming playing a factor. And it's quite interesting. It could make for some quite interesting scenarios on Sunday night. Let's start at the bottom here, man. Hair versus hair. Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville. Now, obviously, you guys know the entire story. I hope you do. It was creepy as fuck and was just downright sadistic with what this guy tried to do, or at least attempt to do with Sonya Deville in that home invasion. Drove from South Carolina, had all these things, zip ties and knives and mace and duct tape, and he wanted to legitimately kidnap her and do sexual acts to her. The next caveat of the story was that Mandy Rose was actually in the house with Sonya Deville. Kayfabe. Fucked over once again. But I'm not even joking about all that. I'm not even joking about that. It's a scary situation. And I honestly think going into SummerSlam, we're going to look at both of these women in a completely different light. I'm a fan of both of these women before this match. And going into this, I find it very difficult to even think how anybody could legitimately boo either Mandy Rose or Sonya Deville. Now it's a hair versus hair match. My first inclination here is, man, Mandy Rose is not losing her hair. She's blonde. Why would WWE cut the golden locks of Mandy Rose? It doesn't make any sense. I can't see Sonya Deville without hair either. But if you're asking me which one do I think is losing the hair, or which one would look better without hair, I can't see Mandy Rose without hair, but I could see Sonya Deville without hair. Sonya's been hot. She's been one of the best females in all of WWE with what she's done. She's been unbelievable in that I'm going to get what I want, I gotta get what I deserve type of role. And Mandy Rose has kind of turned over a new leaf as well. Everybody looks at her as the blonde bombshell, the bikini model. But she's actually gotten tougher over the course of the last couple of months as well. She's developed a thick skin when it comes to Sonya Deville. So that's nice to see as well. There's been some very good character development here. One thing about Sonya Deville is, why is she so good at such an early age? She's only 25 years old. Not sure if you guys realize that. She's only 25. But she does have creative control over her character. That was reported in Sportskeeda. That was reported on their website. Deville actually interviewed with Sportskeeda, and she says that she's been given a lot of creative freedom with the current character she has on SmackDown right now. This is what she says, and I quote, "To be honest, I got a lot of freedom. I'm blessed. I think it's one of those things that where you once prove yourself and they know you can talk, who knows what beholds your character and, you know, all your thoughts. Who knows your character better than yourself? I've had really cool creative liberties to work with the writers and come up with some cool stuff and kind of say what I'm feeling the last couple of months. I feel like fans love it when they can feel the genuineness and the realness in someone's character or persona. That's everything I say, everything I do. It comes from a real part of me, and it really is me. So I feel like fans are feeling that, and they're finally seeing what I've always known I'm capable of. Now, we don't really get that a lot. WWE doesn't give a lot of freedom to anybody, really. And who is Sonya Deville that WWE would give that type of freedom to? Normally, that type of freedom is only reserved for the upper echelon of elite superstars. They'll go out there and they'll cut a promo based off bullet points. They won't be given a script. WWE usually has a script ready to hand to these people before they actually go out there to memorize. Sonya Deville is actually sitting down with writers going over what she wants to say, and they're incorporating it into the promo. I think a lot of different segments on this show, a lot of different, I would say, divisions in Monday Night Raw or in SmackDown. I think they need dedicated people to get their point across. Like one guy, one producer or one writer should be dedicated to the women's division, or one or two writers should be dedicated to the women's division. A couple of guys should be dedicated to this storyline, or a couple of guys should be dedicated to that storyline, and they all should sit down. They should all sit down, gather everything they need to, write down what they need to, book and plan accordingly. Get some ideas from the talent. Get some ideas as far as what to say in a promo. Gather it all up, put the show together, make it all nice and pretty, hand it to Vince McMahon, and boom. You would think that's the way to go about it. Instead of having one guy, two guy, three guys on Vince McMahon's right side write the show, and then he yay or nays it. Not really a fundamental way to run the show. It's not really what I call being productive. You got all these people out there who are basically doing nothing, and they want their piece of the pie as well. Otherwise, why are they employed? So it's nice to see Sonya Deville getting some creative control over her character. Now, far as the creative for this match, I don't see either of these women getting shaved. I don't see Mandy getting shaved because she's blonde. I don't see Sonya getting shaved here because when you look at Sonya Deville and you look at where she needs to be, it's not as a woman who has no hair in the division. She's a beautiful young woman who is playing this genuine character on who she really is. If I look at Sonya Deville, other than what I'm looking at now, I'm not going to be looking at Sonya Deville. I'm going to be looking at a product of a gimmick match that really didn't need to be a gimmick match. Now, I spoke about this with a couple of people, and it's early in the afternoon, and we're talking SummerSlam. What if Otis interjects himself in this match because you'll never see it coming? That tagline, right? They want to hook you on that. You'll never see it coming. What if Otis comes down and opts to be the culprit here for Mandy in this match? Instead of Mandy being shaved, her head being shaved, what if Otis comes down and offers himself to be shaved? What if Sonya Deville shaves the head of Otis instead of Mandy Rose? That's always a possibility. You'll never see that coming. What about the briefcase? What about the Money in the Bank briefcase? I don't think anybody listening to me thinks that Otis is going to cash in on a Bray Wyatt or a Braun Strowman or anybody for that matter. I don't think anybody listening to me looks at Otis as a Universal Champion, which makes me wonder why they even gave him the briefcase in the first place. And a lot of people, when Otis won the Money in the Bank briefcase, they were going on, oh, he's going to cash in, he's going to cash in. No, he's not. He's exactly what I said he was, which is a flavor of the month. How many people even realize he was still in possession of that briefcase? Not many. Not many. People are now wondering. You'll never see it coming. Is he going to cash in against Bray Wyatt? Is he going to cash in against Braun Strowman? No, he's not. And he's not cashing in with Tucker against the tag team championships either. That's just fucking stupid. That goes against everything the Money in the Bank briefcase is for and about. And if I'm Tucker, I'm telling Otis, bro, stakes and weights, you're a fucking idiot. If I'm Tucker's partner in this and he wants to cash in on a tag team title opportunity, I'm Tucker Knight. I'm telling him, bro, why are you cashing in that briefcase for us? Go and cash it in on yourself. You won that to win the tag team titles and not the Universal Championship? I mean, that would make Otis look like a fool. And people all already look at him as a fool. They already associate him as a fool. So that's just fucking stupid. What if Otis comes down, Mandy loses the match, Otis comes down, and right as Sonya is about to take the buzzers to Mandy's beautiful golden locks, Otis's music hits. And Otis comes down, stops everything. And as a way to stop this, because he can't look at Mandy Rose bald, his beautiful peach, his beautiful blonde peach, what if he hands in the briefcase to Sonya Deville to stop Sonya Deville from shaving Mandy Rose's head? What if Sonya Deville is gifted the Money in the Bank briefcase? Now, we've already had a women's Money in the Bank briefcase, but who's to say they can't be doing this as far as a second Money in the Bank briefcase for the women? Now, granted, it would be right in there with that tagline. You'll never see it coming. And yes, it would void the men's Money in the Bank briefcase, but that's what WWE gets for being shitty with their creative. Otis should have never even won that match. But I would have no problem if Sonya Deville became Money in the Bank briefcase holder and came into possession of that. Because if Asuka is going against Sasha Banks and Asuka's going up against Bayley, I don't really see the point in this payoff if Asuka beats Sasha and she doesn't beat Bayley. I don't really understand that. I didn't understand it before this idea. Now, I'm going to go on a different route. Asuka's beating Sasha, no question. But if Asuka loses against Bayley, that doesn't mean Bayley is walking out as the SmackDown Women's Champion. What if Sonya Deville cashes in that already gifted briefcase from Otis on a Bayley that doesn't really pay attention after she pins Asuka? Or better yet, it doesn't even have to be a situation where Asuka is in a losing effort, because I don't want to see Asuka lose anyway. Why are you giving Asuka a match against Sasha and Bayley only for her to win one and lose the other? It doesn't make any sense. Asuka should not be losing. But what if Sonya makes it a triple threat match and she interjects herself in that match, makes it a triple threat match, she pins Bayley for the championship, Asuka doesn't give a shit because she got her belt back. She would have laid it into Bayley anyway and extracted some of that revenge. What if Sonya comes down and cashes it in on Bayley, sparing Asuka to lose? You do the job to get the title off of Bayley. Sonya Deville is the new women's champion. And then Sonya is now leading SmackDown as the women's champion. You'll never see it coming. I just don't understand why you're giving Asuka 2 matches for her to win one and then lose the other. Or win both. What's the point of that? A Raw superstar holding the SmackDown championship? Unless you're going to unify the titles and make one division, I don't see what the fucking point is. I really don't. I'm going with Sonya Deville winning this match, Otis giving up the briefcase so that Mandy doesn't get her head shaved, cashes it in that same night, makes the Asuka Bayley match a triple threat match, pins Bayley, becomes the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know what you guys think about that. It's either Otis getting his head shaved or Otis giving up the briefcase to spare Mandy, and then Sonya goes on to win the Women's Championship. I think after the week that she had, I think that would be a pretty damn good way to close the week out. Bayley versus Asuka. You guys get my drift. You guys get my drift there. Bayley is not dropping the title to Asuka because it doesn't make sense creatively. It doesn't. At that point, I don't see why WWE just doesn't merge the divisions. If the entire story is Asuka getting her revenge on both Sasha and Bayley, it really doesn't make any sense. That's what I want to have happen. Ultimately, that is my absolute just gotta do it situation. They won't do that, though. They will not go and do that. I've been calling for that for years. They won't do that. I think this becomes a triple threat match with Sonya Deville winning the SmackDown Women's Championship. I really think that would be an unbelievable way to make a new superstar. You're not making anybody here. What is the point of this? The entire point of this was to make new stars. You can't make new stars if Asuka, Sasha, and Bayley are the only 3 figures in this entire story. If Sonya does that, you make her a new star instantly by way of the briefcase, by way of beating Bayley and outsmarting both golden role models. Now they have no championships but the tag team championships, and they'll go on to lose those at Payback as well, and then the deterioration of Sasha Banks and Bayley begin. And I don't know how that is going to happen if they do the Sonya thing. It's got to be in a situation where Sasha is being lackadaisical, or she's just beat up so badly that she's not out there for Bayley, not out there to protect Bayley and just watch her and be in her corner. At some point in this entire thing, there's going to be fingers of blame pointed at either one of them. Back and forth. Sasha's going to blame Bayley. Bayley's going to blame Sasha. Inevitably, she should lose this match. Not to Asuka, because Asuka's a Raw superstar. Sonya Deville's a SmackDown superstar. I'm going with Sonya Deville as the new SmackDown Women's Champion at SummerSlam. You don't even wait on it. You do it here. You'll never see it coming. Sasha Banks versus Asuka. Raw Women's Championship. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. I think Sasha Banks loses this. Asuka becomes the Raw Women's Champion. I did not like, I'll say this again, I did not like the way that Asuka and Sasha Banks ended up on that last championship match that they had when Sasha Banks won the championship. That whole Kairi Sane beatdown angle in the back. Bayley and Kairi Sane could have been done so much better. Bayley could have grabbed the cameraman. Bayley could have beaten her down beforehand. Go and find a cameraman. Look at what I'm doing. Hey, Asuka, look at me. Look at your stupid pirate friend. Beat her down. And that would prompt Asuka to do what she did. Instead, Asuka left the ring, said, fuck the championship, went to go look for Kairi Sane and Bayley in the back. It really didn't make any sense. Who threw that video up on the wall? How did it get there? It just looked lame. And then at the end of all that, even Busted Open Radio said something about Kairi Sane. She, 3 minutes after that, tweeted out, oh, thank you for the WWE Universe for being so loving and blah, blah, blah. She was bidding her farewell to the WWE Universe 3 minutes after she got beaten down from Bayley. Doesn't make any sense. It ruined the entire perception of what they did and the story they tried to tell on that Monday Night Raw. Unless Kairi Sane is being beaten to an inch of her life, I don't really understand it. Why would Asuka leave the ring? If I was Kairi, I'd tell her, no, stay. Win the championship, I'll live. Didn't really make any sense. I think we all know at this point that Asuka, Sasha, and Bayley are carrying this women's division. Asuka may very well be the MVP of the entire pandemic era. She's just been unbelievable. She's absolutely one of the very best, period, both men and women. Very best in that company, period. Sasha Banks and Bayley have carried these shows. They've been both some of the most entertaining aspects of this entire show on Raw and SmackDown. But I do think it's time to really unleash the growth of the division here, if that is what their mentality was going into this. Not only getting a match out of them two together, but the growth of the women's division. You can do that by having Sonya win the championship against Bayley, making it a triple threat match for the SmackDown Women's Championship earlier in the night. And then you can do Sasha and Asuka dropping the title to Asuka, tag team titles. I don't necessarily think Asuka and Shayna Baszler should be the recipients of those tag team championships. I think it should be a Ruby Riott or a Liv Morgan. Or if they didn't want to bring Liv Morgan back, it should have been Bianca Belair and Ruby Riott. That would have made for a fine tag team, a fine duo, right? They got Lana and Natalya. I'm not saying I want them to be tag team champions, but at least they're more of a team than fucking Asuka and Shayna Baszler. You got the Iconics. Never mind. I don't even know why I brought them up. You got Naomi and Carmella. That could be a team. Somebody from NXT. Anybody but Asuka and Shayna. It doesn't even make sense. I don't get where they're going with any of that. I really don't. But I think the point here is Sasha is losing the championship to Asuka. There is only one way to go here, and that is Asuka being the Raw Women's Champion. And whatever happens with Bayley and Sasha Banks, they will not have a championship to fight over. At the end of this, it will be because they both fucked up and they're going to blame each other. Asuka wins the Raw Women's Championship. It's going to be interesting to see how they book this because every single match, legitimately every single match, Asuka has won in a fuck finish. Or every match they've had has had a fuck finish or some nefarious finish. I think Asuka needs to win clean here. Whether it's a pinfall or a tap out, Asuka needs to win the fucking championship clean as a whistle on SummerSlam Sunday. Enough of this shit. You gave us all the theatrics already. Now it's time to really hanker down, bolster this fucking division, and solidify a champion. I don't think she's ever won a match since winning the championship clean. Or being handed the championship, rather, from Becky clean. Has she? I don't know. Nia Jax fuck finish. Sasha Banks fuck finishes everywhere. Bayley needs to win clean. Asuka wins clean. Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. Universal Championship. Alexa Bliss is the story of this feud. That is what they're doing here. Alexa Bliss is the story of this feud. Why, you ask? Well, I've mentioned this for weeks now. Braun Strowman's stay in the Wyatt family was a one-night stay at the Wyatt family bed and breakfast. That's all it was. He was legitimately there for a fucking cup of coffee. There was no story there between Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt for anybody to legitimately be invested in. And especially with what they've done with Braun Strowman as Universal Champion. Not only that, there was absolutely no way WWE was going to get 4 months of material out of Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship. They've had to go back into the time machine and give me Wyatt family, Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt to continue this feud. That's how little Braun Strowman and his inclusion in the Wyatt family meant to anybody. I've called it the B-side of the Wyatt family. It didn't make the actual album. It only made a bonus track on the Japan version of the album. That was it. We got 4 months of this shit. If it doesn't end at SummerSlam, God help us all. WWE had their backs against the wall. How can we get this to SummerSlam? How can we sell from the occurrences at the Swamp Fight all the way till SummerSlam? Alexa Bliss. Instead of the Wyatt family now, it's now Alexa Bliss. I will give Bliss some credit. Her acting here has been very good. She's been a believable character, a supporting character in this Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman feud. I don't think that it's going to be a lasting thing. I don't think that Alexa Bliss is going to be a heel. I don't. I think Braun Strowman's actually turning heel. In fact, it's probably a more welcome sight on Braun Strowman than it is for Alexa Bliss. I honestly think with all of this shit, being that Alexa Bliss is a babyface and Braun Strowman manhandled a babyface, and he did what he did with Alexa Bliss, and being that Alexa Bliss is a babyface and that's going to start rubbing off on Bray Wyatt, you'll never see it coming. I think Bray Wyatt is turning babyface. I don't want him to be a babyface. That is fucking ridiculous. His name is the fucking Fiend. How could you look at somebody named the Fiend and think babyface? It doesn't make sense. It really is. He going to be handing out fucking balloons and giving hugs? What the fuck is he? What is he going to do? Seriously. He's going to be making balloon animals in the fucking Firefly Funhouse? I think that is exactly what WWE is doing here. And the only reason why they have Alexa Bliss in this thing is because they had nothing else between Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. Nothing. That was their only other connection to get these guys from the Swamp Fight to SummerSlam. I think Braun Strowman turns heel. I think Alexa Bliss is with Bray Wyatt. She plays a Sister Abigail figure. And they become a couple on SmackDown. I mean, I would rather that for Alexa Bliss than her doing the same old shit in the women's division. Somebody wants to see that. She's literally done how many times does she need to have the SmackDown Women's Championship? Her being in title contention means nothing. You're not generating any interest in the women's division by having Alexa Bliss go back to the same role that she's had 5 times before. This is the best use of Alexa Bliss that I've ever seen. Honestly. This is where she thrives. This is where I don't mind her on television. I see her more as an actress than I do a professional wrestler. And if it can enhance the Fiend character, then I'm all for it. And at the end of the day, this is WWE correcting their mistake back from February, but I don't know how much of a correction that really is going to be. Because WWE, they haven't really done anything to build Bray Wyatt up as their next Universal Champion. We don't really have any competition for Bray Wyatt after this is all over with. What's going to happen? I don't know. And if this is the end for this angle, it should be the end for this angle. I do not want to see this angle continue on into Payback. The Universal Champion, there's no written rule where the Universal Championship has to be defended at Payback. You got two major championships in the WWE and the Universal Championship. As long as one is on the show, you're fine. There's no written rule where it says both of them have to be on every fucking show. Just throwing that out there as well. This feud ends at SummerSlam. Bray Wyatt wins. He becomes the Universal Champion, and we move on. Who Bray Wyatt goes up against after that, I have no fucking clue. For all we know, it's Roman Reigns. He comes back, and Bray Wyatt, again, is a transitional champion. And then at that point, I'll buy the shovels, and we can all walk to the graveyard together and bury the Fiend once and for all. That's what I think's going to happen. Because who else is there? Doesn't anybody wonder what the next thing for Bray Wyatt is? Does anybody find it very funny that WWE hasn't lined up any other people on that show to challenge Bray Wyatt? It's going to be Roman Reigns. Heel or babyface? Does anybody jump off the page to you as challenging Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship? I thought Jeff Hardy, but he'll be embroiled in a feud with AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. I just don't see anybody jumping off the page as far as, I'm going to challenge the Fiend next. Nobody makes sense. Absolutely nobody makes sense. Bray Wyatt wins. He's the new Universal Champion. Apollo Crews versus MVP for the United States Championship. You'll never see it coming. MVP wins the United States Championship. That's what I think is going to happen. Or, this is my other option here. Apollo Crews wins this match, and we get the match that we should have gotten at SummerSlam, at Payback. MVP does not need the United States Championship. He doesn't. And the reason why I said I think MVP is going to win it right out of the gate is because of the incident with Cedric Alexander. This is a better idea, though. Apollo Crews beats MVP at SummerSlam, and the Hurt Business go into business and come up with a plan to get payback on Apollo Crews. Whether it's something that happens retribution-like with the lights going out, maybe there's a nefarious way that Apollo Crews again beats MVP. He's looking for payback. MVP loses here, Apollo Crews retains, and we get the match at Payback that we should have gotten on SummerSlam between Bobby Lashley and Apollo Crews. Should have been, for the United States Championship, Apollo Crews versus Bobby Lashley. And at Payback, and this is where everything's going to come into play, you'll never see it coming, right? You'll never see it coming. Something with the lights happened during this match. And then from the incident that stemmed from Monday, remember when Apollo Crews overlooked Cedric Alexander for the six-man tag on Monday Night Raw? He chose Ricochet and Ali. But Ricochet and Cedric are a tag team. So Payback fits perfectly into what I'm thinking for Cedric Alexander here. Apollo Crews wins via some nefarious fuck finish. Retribution, more than likely. I don't know. However WWE wants to go about this. Payback happens via Cedric, where between Monday and then Payback Sunday, he joins the Hurt Business. Apollo doesn't know. He went into business for MVP. He got payback on Apollo for disrespecting him. And Apollo loses the championship to Bobby Lashley. Because if MVP lost once, lost twice, that's enough for him. He'll just enlist Bobby Lashley to go after Apollo Crews. Listen, if the Hurt Business is going to get it done, it's going to be with the enforcer Bobby Lashley. I don't need to do it. I don't even know why he's there to begin with. Bobby Lashley beats Apollo, and Bobby Lashley wins because of help from Cedric Alexander. And then you're off to the running. Cedric turns heel. He joins the Hurt Business. You'll never see it coming. That's what I think's going to happen. So Apollo Crews, he may be walking a very thin line with that United States Championship. Dominick Mysterio versus Seth Rollins in a street fight. I got some news on Dominick Mysterio. Apparently he wants to change his name for WWE TV. Now, this is coming from WrestlingNews.co. They reported in 2018 that Ray trademarked the name Prince Mysterio back when Dominic was training at Lance Storm's school in Calgary, which I believe closed down because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But he spoke to ESPN, and this is what they say, both of them, and I quote, "We actually talked about it. Dominic says he definitely has to continue with the Mysterio dynasty. It's in his genes." Ray then told ESPN, "I think we're going to incorporate that eventually and create a good story so the fans can understand the rich history behind the Lucha Libre and the masks." So Dominic says he always wanted to wear a mask to keep the tradition going, but since fans have already seen his face on WWE TV, he feels that the mask will have to be introduced in a different way so people can understand why he's wearing it. Dominic said, "I definitely want to wear one, but it has to be introduced properly." Well, it's nice to know the young kid doesn't want to rush into anything that doesn't make sense. So I appreciate that aspect. So Sunday night, he's going one-on-one with Seth Rollins, street fight. The reason why this became a street fight was because he signed 2 contracts. One, as a WWE superstar, 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Raw. That's when he got the lashing, which was great. Unbelievable lashing from Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. Signed a contract to be a WWE superstar. And then he signed a contract for the match at SummerSlam. Rollins, in that same contract signing that was moderated by Samoa Joe, said, "You can bring any tool of the trade you want. You want to bring a kendo stick? You want to bring anything to try and get the upper hand on me? By all means, I am the Messiah. I gift this to you." So then WWE came out on social media and made the match a street fight anyway. And I like the fact that they made it a street fight because I don't think anybody watching this show on Sunday night is going to believe that Dominic in his first match is going to hang one-on-one in a wrestling match with Seth Rollins. Not only that, I don't think anybody believes that Dominic can beat Seth Rollins in a wrestling match in his first match in WWE. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They gave him the street fight for 2 reasons. One, to hide his weaknesses. Whatever weaknesses that he has are going to be hidden with the bells and whistles of a street fight. And it gives him a greater chance to win against Seth Rollins when the rules are kind of equal plane at SummerSlam. Rollins can use weapons. Dominic can use weapons. It's going to be who uses the weapons best and who comes up with the most creative way to use said weapons. So that gives Dominic an unbelievable opportunity to beat Seth Rollins in a match that doesn't require him to go out there and wrist lock and fucking tope and, you know, do the standard wrestling thing that we know Rollins can do better than anybody. So I honestly think this is the reason why they made this into a street fight. Now, the mask situation is really interesting here. But before I get to that, this feud has been up and down, left and right. It really hasn't gotten anybody over. Everybody that's played a supporting role in this thing has not gotten over. Aleister Black, he looked like a loser. Kevin Owens never got over. He beat Rollins, and then he got thrown back into this feud, only to be taken off TV again because WWE didn't know if Ray was going to sign or not. Now, I'm assuming he's staying with the WWE because Dominic signed a contract to be a WWE superstar. So I honestly think there was some truth behind that. And I think Ray is staying with the WWE, even though AEW reportedly matched WWE's offer. Nobody else looked good, though, in this entire thing. What's his name? Austin Theory got taken off of TV. Aleister Black buried. Humberto buried. Kevin Owens back and forth with Kevin Owens. Samoa Joe is more over than anybody in this feud, and he's not even actually a part of the fucking feud. He's only sticking up for Ray and Dominic. Nobody's over. I know WWE is going to do the right thing with Dominic here. I really do. I think he's going to get over. I think he's going to look great. I don't think he wins his first match. I think Rollins gets the victory, which prompts payback. I think Ray and Dominic versus Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins at Payback. That's where you can introduce the mask. How many more times is Dominic going to be in the ring with his father in this type of capacity? There's only one of 2 things that happen here with the mask. One, they team together and Ray is so proud of what Dominic did in that tag team match. right? Ray is so proud of what Dominic did in that tag team match, being his partner, that he legitimately takes off his mask and hands it to Dominic, almost as if it's a passing of the torch. Or Ray retires, which I don't think is the case because I do believe he signed. It would be a situation where he would retire at WrestleMania. They have a match, his last match with his son. His son's good enough to go. I want a match with my son. That's my last match. That would be the biggest honor in the fucking universe for both guys, for Dominic and for Ray. Nothing like that could possibly ever be recreated again. And then at that time, Dominic beats Ray, and Ray passes the torch, and Ray retires. But I think at Payback, in a tag team element where son is making father proud, I think that's when we could possibly see Ray unmask and hand the mask over to Dominic. I don't think Dominic should wear a mask in the ring as a Mysterio. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know. The fact that the report said we've already seen his face, I've gotten quite used to seeing his face on TV. I don't think we need to hide his face on TV, being that everybody already knows what he looks like. So that's my take there. I think Seth Rollins wins for the greater good, and then we get Payback. I don't know how it happens. They got to be creative here to really warrant a Payback match. But I think Seth Rollins wins. We get Rollins and Murphy versus Mysterio and Dominic at Payback. The Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza for the Raw Tag Team Championships. This has been pretty weak. As far as I am concerned, the Profits don't have any other competition in the division. If Cedric is leaving Ricochet and the Viking Raiders are off fucking grabbing turkey legs and working on Raw Underground, that doesn't really leave a lot there for the Street Profits to work with in the tag team division. I'm just saying. This has been weak. The entire story here is that Montez Ford got poisoned. The entire story was Bianca Belair trying to find out who poisoned her husband. Angelo Dawkins trying to find out who poisoned his tag team partner. So they went on for about a week or so, and then Bianca Belair invades Zelina Vega's home, beats the shit out of Zelina Vega live on Twitch. Nothing was made about this, or nothing was raised about this situation on Monday Night Raw. They just let it go, as if it never happened. Angelo Dawkins comes out the very next week and says, I know who did it. I got footage. Where did he get the footage from? Apparently, Samoa Joe said that with Retribution running around, the WWE management team and security had to comb through thousands upon thousands of hours of footage. And in the scuffle of all the footage, they seen Zelina Vega poisoning Montez Ford on Monday Night Raw. So Angelo Dawkins was on Raw. He knows who did it. He's smiling. He's waving his arms about. He's got the phone footage. He's got the video. Still smiling. No sign of Bianca Belair. You'd think Bianca Belair would have heard that, oh, look, we got somebody here. We know who did it. We know who poisoned your husband. You'd think she would be right there in frame next to Angelo Dawkins. Nope. He's just there smiling. No reason whatsoever why he should be smiling. His fucking partner was poisoned. So apparently it was Zelina Vega, and that was it. Bianca Belair comes out in the night while Dawkins, I believe, or Montez Ford rather, is wrestling Andrade or Garza. I don't even remember. Bianca Belair comes out of nowhere and takes down Zelina Vega, roughs her up a little bit. Montez Ford wins, and then we move on to SummerSlam. So not only did they not really make it into a serious thing, it was absolutely a weak scenario to build around a feud for the tag team championships. It doesn't make any sense. And I mentioned this on Monday Night Raw, which probably pisses me off more than the actual poisoning storyline and all the logic holes that WWE left behind. They left like a trail of breadcrumbs behind. They didn't really care to follow up on anything. They didn't really have these men and women in these roles telling the story, go out there and play it off as anything serious. No. The one thing that pissed me off the most is there really is no tag team wrestling on Monday Night Raw that develops into a tag team title match on a pay-per-view. Andrade and Garza already beat the Street Profits. If you guys remember, I'm going back. This may be a little too long ago for you guys, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. They already beat the Street Profits in a non-title match. That alone should have made them the number one contenders. Story should have been building. You already should have a story in mind to build as to how these guys are getting to SummerSlam. And then you take them and you have them lose to the Big Show in a handicap match. They beat the Viking Raiders, lose to the Big Show in a handicap match, come back the next week, beat the Street Profits, and then you put them in a number one contender match against Cedric and Ricochet and the War Raiders, or the Viking Raiders. But didn't they just beat the Street Profits on Monday Night Raw in a non-title match clean? That should make them the number one contenders for the tag team championships. But you're having them go out there and wrestle for that contendership again? How does that make any sense? And then after that, ever since we got the match confirmed, and this has been a thing for months now on Monday Night Raw, we don't get tag team matches on the show. We get one-on-one matches. This entire feud has been Montez Ford versus Andrade, or Montez Ford versus Garza, Angelo Dawkins versus Andrade, Angelo Dawkins versus Garza, Bianca Belair versus Zelina Vega. There's no tag team vibe in this tag team title feud. They're having their champions in the tag team division wrestle singles matches. They're having their tag team wrestlers wrestle singles matches because of a lack of tag teams in the division. I think at that point, WWE, that's a red flag as to, maybe we should fix this. It's a glaring fucking issue that isn't gonna go away if you close your eyes. I'm just saying. I think the Street Profits lose the tag team championships. Why? Because I honestly feel like they've run their course on Monday Night Raw. And if Andrade and Garza don't win here, I mean, after all that they've been through, up and down, up and down, up and down, give these guys a shot with the tag team championships. They're not doing much of anything else here. Seriously. Andrade and Garza win simply because I think they deserve it. And the way that they've been booked, you'll never see it coming. A lot of people probably going with the Street Profits. I'm going with Garza and Andrade to win the tag team championships. And in the main event of the show, Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. Now, there was a story leaked by Sportskeeda about a major potential spoiler. I don't think this is going to come as news to anybody, as I believe several in the community, including myself, have talked about this in regards to how this match is going to end. The punt kick on Ric Flair that nobody's seen. The last time we seen the punt kick was on Monday Night Raw to Shawn Michaels. And a lot of people complained about Shawn Michaels no-selling the punt kick and an RKO. He was still conscious and about to get to his feet after a RKO and a punt kick. I might as well talk about that first because Leo Rush, former WWE superstar, made mention of it on Twitter. And then Bully Ray on Busted Open Radio kind of leveled into WWE and Shawn Michaels acting here. The way he went about this. What was that? You took a punt kick and an RKO from Randy Orton and you're still on your feet? Meanwhile, you sold that thing as death to everybody else. Who's Shawn Michaels? Maybe they're in cahoots. I don't know. So WWE on Monday night had Shawn Michaels come back to confront Randy Orton. And he was hit with an RKO and a punt kick. Michaels isn't fully out cold. If you guys watch Monday Night Raw back, he's on his knees. He was in the corner legitimately conscious. Many fans took issue with Michaels' selling of Randy Orton's signature moves. Now, it wasn't only WWE fans that weren't pleased with Shawn Michaels. Bully Ray mentioned this on Busted Open Radio, and he says, an RKO and a punt to the head from Randy fucking Orton. And Shawn Michaels is on his feet? Velvet Sky, his wife, also said this in regards to this situation. So Shawn takes RKOs plus a punt kick to the head and sits himself up in the corner and tries to get up like nothing happened. Basically, no selling both moves. Way to bury Randy. Now, I don't think it's a burial of Randy. I just think it's WWE sheer negligence on what they actually wrote down in the script, who produced this fucking segment, what was approved by Vince McMahon, because if anybody actually gave a shit about what the fuck goes on in this show, that would have been something that would have been immediately corrected. Give me a break with that shit. I don't give a fuck about Velvet Sky's opinion on anything, but I can't sit here and tell you she's not right in this situation. She's absolutely right. As is everybody else that complained about his fucking selling. Then Drew takes an RKO alone and stays down selling like you're supposed to. Shawn Michaels disrespected Randy Orton. She goes on and says, when you take someone's finish, it's more than just your face you sell. Imagine, for instance, me taking Awesome Kong's implant buster and trying to get up or crawl away and only selling with my facial expressions. You just don't do that. It's very disrespectful to the person executing the move. Unbelievable. It really is. I don't blame people who are upset about that. Bully Ray was one of the first people to complain about Kairi Sane doing that thing with Bayley in the back, tweeting 3 minutes after she was fucking brutally attacked, making Asuka leave the ring. I don't normally agree with a lot of the shit that's said on Busted Open, but I absolutely fucking 1,000% agree with him on that case, and I agree with him here and his wife. Now, the spoiler. The major spoiler here during this WWE Championship match that's supposed to be is something that we've already discussed. We've already discussed this. Sportskeeda says this in regards to Orton and McIntyre at SummerSlam. Now, a possible finish, according to Sportskeeda, is that Flair could return to cost either Orton or McIntyre at SummerSlam using as controlled of an environment as possible. Another possible finish, Sportskeeda says, is that Retribution could interfere in this match, which could lead to a draw. The Payback pay-per-view takes place 1 week later. WWE does not have a main event for that show. The main event for Payback is Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Absolutely. It's not Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. That feud dies at SummerSlam. All because the WWE Championship is on the show doesn't mean the Universal Championship needs to be on the show. As long as you have a main event and a story going in and a story coming out, that's all that matters. I think I've seen my fair share of Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman for the rest of the summer. Those are the two possible endings. Flair, we already talked about, in the dark. Did he take the punt kick or not? Some people even mentioned he was wearing a cup. Is he going to screw over Drew McIntyre? I don't know. Or if it's not Flair, it could be Shawn Michaels. Maybe the whole bad sell job was to kind of throw it out there as a tease. Maybe he's the one to turn on Drew McIntyre after giving him words of encouragement. Randy's my boy. Or Randy is my boy because Flair is my boy. And I got to stick to my boys. I got to support my boys. I don't know. If I'm doing one thing or another here, I'm doing Retribution. I'm doing Retribution at SummerSlam. Match goes to a draw. Retribution, WWE should really go all out with the Retribution shit. Honestly, it should mimic the Nexus. Was it CM Punk and John Cena in the ring? They destroyed that ring. And Retribution, the real Retribution, I mean the fucking people who you want underneath those masks, need to be in that ring. They're the ones that destroy Orton, McIntyre, and the entire SummerSlam ringside area. Payback happens 1 week from SummerSlam. We get the rematch because we go to a draw. At Payback, we get Ric Flair turning on Drew McIntyre, and we get Drew McIntyre looking strong here. The one thing that needs to happen here out of everything that we've discussed or everything that's being proposed is Drew McIntyre needs to look strong. You cannot take the WWE Championship off of him clean and call it a day. There's got to be a reason to take the WWE Championship off of him, which would be Randy Orton and the fucking job he's done on WWE TV. And the reason you take Drew McIntyre and the WWE Championship away from one another is you do that with Randy Orton and you also build towards what Drew McIntyre is going to do next. Whatever that may be, I don't know. Maybe the leader of Retribution has an issue with Drew McIntyre. Come up with something. If Retribution stops the match on Sunday night, which I am predicting they do, then we get the payback match on the following Sunday. Flair ruins Drew McIntyre's chances. He looked strong not only coming out of SummerSlam because it was a draw. He looked strong by losing the championship because he was fucked over. He'll get another championship match whenever that time comes. But Flair fucks him over at Payback, and then at the end of Payback, we see the leader of Retribution unmask. That's what needs to happen. WWE cannot continue this Retribution angle the way they've been doing it. Otherwise, it is going to be stale as fucking 3-week-old bread left out open on the kitchen counter. Can't do that. It's already dying 1,000 deaths. Already people are fucking tired of it. People are asking for a reveal. So do the fucking reveal. What's with this? Oh, let me destroy the PC. Oh, let me do this. Oh, let me do that. Chainsaws and spray paint and fucking 205 Live recruits. Then you got guys on SmackDown that look a little bit bigger than the week before. Who the fuck is it? What do they want? What is their end goal? Why are they here? Why are they seeking retribution? It's got to be good. You can't continue the same old fucking shit every single week. It's old already. They fucked the match up at SummerSlam. We get the rematch between Orton and Drew McIntyre at Payback. McIntyre loses the title to Randy Orton. Then Randy Orton's the WWE Champion. Drew McIntyre feuds with whoever the fucking leader of Retribution is. Randy Orton, his first feud coming out of Payback, Mustafa Ali. That's what his story should be. Randy Orton versus Mustafa Ali for the WWE Championship. Because that story still needs to be finished from last year. Randy Orton took Mustafa Ali out of the chamber. Kept him out of a possible WrestleMania WWE Championship match against Daniel Bryan. He's owed an opportunity. Randy Orton's the WWE Champion. There's no time like the present to show up on Monday Night Raw and challenge Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. And you tell the story between those two guys, and that's Randy Orton's first babyface opponent. Well, Drew McIntyre is feuding with Tommaso Ciampa, who's rumored to be in Retribution. Dominic Dijakovic, who's rumored to be in Retribution. Can you imagine the matches between either one of those two guys against Drew McIntyre? Or whoever else is in Retribution. At this point, we don't know. I don't even think WWE knows. You'll never see it coming. This is either going to work wonders for WWE or it's going to be a creative fucking flop. They got a lot of good moving parts here where they can create intriguing television moving forward. Do they do it? I'm not holding my breath. Everything I've come up with here is something that I've thought up in my head to better the fucking shows. This is what I do on a weekly basis. Not saying any of this stuff is going to happen. This is what I would do. I'm not here to give fucking predictions. Any fucking geek in the community can come up with predictions and do a fucking podcast. 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes. Oh, this guy's going to win, and for this reason. Oh, she's going to win, and for this reason. I want to go a little bit more analytically. I want to go a little bit more in depth as to what should happen. If anything that I said here does not better WWE television, then I'm in the wrong fucking business. I should find a new profession. But I guarantee everybody listening to me knows that, oh man, if JD was in charge of SummerSlam, holy shit, this would be a great show. How much of this shit happens? I don't know. Probably nothing. I might get 1, 2, maybe 3 of the winners correct. Obvious winners here correct at SummerSlam. But it's about the story. That's the most important aspect of what I do, what I watch, the story. Get me to care. Get me to be excited about the following week. You got a pay-per-view 7 days from now. Get me fucking excited about it. You got the pieces there to actually make that happen. Do it. Sunday, I'll be live for SummerSlam. We'll go over everything. Make sure you guys join me then, live, after the show is over on Off the Script. Guys, thank you so very much. Let me know what you thought of the new format. Left you with a nice little cliffhanger at the end of part 1 of Off the Script on Friday. You guys are probably asking yourself, well, JD, where's the SummerSlam shit? Where's the SummerSlam predictions? He trolled us, or he forgot like a dumbass. No, man. This is what I might be doing going forward for pay-per-views, so let me know. Let me know what you guys thought about that, if you liked it, or if you got a little nervous there. Oh, man, he forgot. Let me know what you think down below in the comments of this very video. Follow me on social media, man, at JD from NY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. I'll be tweeting live tonight during TakeOver. I'll be live tonight for TakeOver review on Off the Script. Live on YouTube. I'll be back on Sunday night for SummerSlam live tweeting, and then live on YouTube for SummerSlam review on Off the Script. So make sure you follow me on Twitter, man. That's where I will be. That is the best place to get updated on everything going on with the channel. Make sure you guys check out all the other videos that you might have missed, including yesterday's Part 1, including yesterday's SmackDown review. First night in the Thunderdome. Let me know what you guys think about that as well. So go check those videos out. T-shirts, bonfire.com. Go and get your JD's NEGAN. Mouthmasker.com/OTS. Go get your masks. The black mask is now available. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. If you guys want to show some extra appreciation, hit that motherfucking subscribe button down below. And turn on that bell for all notifications. Hit that thumbs up down below as well. Support the video. If you're listening on iTunes, leave me a 5-star rating and a 5-star review. Leave me a comment on there. Thank you guys so very much for that. And Blue Chew. Make sure you guys go and get your free sample of Blue Chew. Free is always great. Don't become a scam. Don't be a part of the lamest party of the summer. Get Blue Chew. BlueChew.com. Code JD at checkout. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Hope you enjoyed this weekend's Off the Script. I'll see you tonight for TakeOver live on the channel. SummerSlam tomorrow night live. Lots of shit still to come. And I'll see you guys tonight. Hit that thumbs up. TakeOver should be great. Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee, baby. What's going to happen? We'll talk about it.